Hey guys, Carl from Purple Misplaced. Today I'm taking a look at Cursed from designer Jacob Haydel and publisher Goblin Games, sold through the Game Crafter website but also available directly from the publisher as a print and play game. This is a sort of solo only push your luck card game in which you find yourself as an adventurer cursed by a witch, and the witch tells you if you manage to capture the souls of 8 monsters for her, she will break the curse for you. What that means realistically or mechanically is this is a sort of solitaire card game that you're playing through a deck of cards, using those deck of cards a la something like blackjack, pushing your luck to try and get as close to a specific value as possible, to try and defeat 8 monsters through that mechanism before running out of cards in the deck. Disclaimer, I was given a review copy of this game for this video, but as always, I will do my best to give you my own honest opinion on the game. With that said, let's head down to the table to see how this one plays, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. To set up a game of Cursed, take the cards, give them a good shuffle. And then from the top of this deck, you're going to deal out 1 card with this gray side face up, or sort of pointing up. And that becomes your starting item. So I'm going to start with a large backpack, and it says take a weapon card from the discard pile and keep it with my items for use when needed. So we'll explain what that does in just a minute. But then I'm just going to take the rest of this deck and I'm going to set it off to the side. And like that, we're all sort of set up for the game. And a game of Cursed is going to play out over a series of turns until I have either run out of all of the cards in this deck or I've managed to defeat 8 monsters. And each round is going to consist of simply taking this card, flipping over the top card, which is going to now represent the monster I'm trying to defeat. And in order to defeat this monster, I need to hit that value. But I can never go over that value. And what that means is from this deck, I'm going to start flipping over weapons cards, which means I'm simply going to take the next card and turn it sideways. And you can see there that each of these cards has a weapon as printed here, and that value is working towards fighting this unless the monster has some kind of special ability, which in this case it does not. And I'm going to keep turning over cards until I decide to quit. Again, if I turn over a card that puts my value over the value of the monster, that card will simply be discarded because I can never exceed that value. I'm trying to hit that value exactly. But I can choose to quit at any time. But when I quit, I need to discard a number of cards from the deck equal to the difference between those 2 values. So if I stop right now, I'd lose 6 cards. And remember, the game ends when that deck is emptied, unless I manage to have defeated 8 monsters by that time. So I definitely don't want to quit after that. We also have an item that we start with, and in order to use that, I'm simply going to discard it and do what it does. And it says that I'm going to take a weapon card from the discard pile and keep it for use when needed. I might as well do that now, because that's not something that's going to ever sort of go away. I'm just going to have that weapon until I need it. So I'm going to take that weapon, which now you will see the weapons range in value from 1 to 6, and the 1s and 6s are the same card. And now I wish I hadn't used that, because this is the perfect card to use here, because a 6 plus a 3 would make a 9. But it's also the perfect card to have later because a 1 might be able to bump me towards the value. So you know what? I think I'm going to keep it. And let's turn over the next one and see what we get. Another 3. So we're at 6, which means I need a 1, a 2, or a 3 to avoid going over. And I'd really rather not waste cards going over, because then if I lose a card for going over and then I decide to quit, I'm still losing those cards. So I think I am going to just lose 3 cards. 1, 2, 3, and now from doing that, these get discarded and we have defeated our first monster. So I'm going to draw a new monster, which now is an 11, but see here, there's a treasure chest in the back, which means when this monster is defeated, I will also be receiving 1 treasure, which means I will draw the next card and that card will become an item. Great. All right, so fighting against him, I've got a 6 to start, which is awesome. I can't add this 6. I mean, I could as a 1, but that's a 7. That doesn't help. Let's see what's gone, because any card that's not a 6 will work to add to that, and we got a 4. So that's a 10. I'm stopping there, discarding 1 card. These get discarded. We have defeated our second monster, and because there was a treasure chest, I get to take an item. Hold on, let me double check that. No, sorry, not from there. From the discard pile, and that's a mistake. It's been a minute since I played this. Shuffling the discard pile and then drawing one of those. So we're not losing any more cards by doing that. Great. And of course, we drew the Mimic, which says when drawn as an item, immediately treat the Mimic as a monster with power 4. All right, so we're fighting a Mimic. But that does mean it will become a monster if we defeat it, so that's cool. Except there's a 5 and that's a 4, so that card is discarded. Whoops, that's my discard pile. And another 5, this Mimic is going to be the death of me, and perfect. There's our 4, we stop. That's my third monster defeated. Next is, whoops, evasive. All right, so this monster is a 9, but it's got evasive, which says the first even valued weapon I use is going to deal no damage. That's horrible. And there's my first even, so that's a nothing. That's a 2. And I'm going to use this dagger to put it as an 8. Right, 6 and 2 is 8. I lose 1 card. They go away, and that's my 4th kill. Halfway there, guys. Let's see if we can do it. I don't think so. It's pretty small. All right, here's a 10, but we got a chest again. No special rules. 2. 7. 1, 2, or 3 is great. 4, 5, or 6. Well, 6 is the same as a 1. So a 4 or a 5 is going to bust. Yeah, I got to go for it. Of course it's a 5. Great. I'm going to cut my losses. 1, 2. Those go in there. That goes up there. And we get an item. Except this deck is super thick. And we're in trouble. We've got a smoke bomb that says place all of the cards in the current encounter into the draw deck and shuffle. That means if things are going poorly, we basically get a mulligan on the next monster. All right, let's see what happens then. An 8, giant frog warrior. 2. 3 is a 5. Now paying attention to these other cards, 9s and 10s are not great, and that's a 4. 5, yeah, we're out. We're out. Well, there's 6, 7, 8. At least we beat him without losing any cards, but that's the end of the game. I gotta fight this guy. I got no cards left. I've only defeated 6 monsters, and that's it. But that was quick. Let's do one more. All right, then, all shuffled up, we will take our first item, which is a Scroll of Purge Life. Wow, that's super powerful. It says I'm gonna instantly capture a monster's soul when used, ignoring their traits. So that's an instant kill at any time. So if I save that for the last guy, assuming I make it that far, yeah, that'll work out nicely. Let's see what happens. Evasive, first even value weapon deals no damage. Nothing. Okay, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can't go any more than that. Yeah, we gotta stop. I'm losing 2 for that though. They go away. He is defeated. Next card. 8. Ethereal. The first odd value does no damage. And of course I'm gonna draw. No, I didn't. 4. 8. Look at that. Perfected. Okay, let's go. Next one is another 8. Froggy, froggy. Where's all my treasures? There's a 4. 5, 6. I gotta stop. I gotta stop. Whoops. Wait, what did I just do? 4, 5, 6. I was turning this over for this. 7, 8. Done. Flying. 7. First melee deals no damage. Melee means, as you can see here, there are ranged weapons and melee weapons. Let's see what happens. We've got a 5, which is ranged, and I'm going to stop there. I'll take the 2 damage. 1, 2. I really wish I could find a treasure chest, though. Flying again. First melee does no damage. That's no damage. 2. 7. Okay. Well, we're already at 5. Deck is really low. Yay, finally a treasure chest. I'm going to use this Purged Scroll of Life to kill him, because that's 11, takes a lot of cards. I get an item back. Please no Mimic. I think there's only one in there. If I pull it out 2 games in a row, it's going to be real fun. And we've got Frenzy Potion. Your initial weapon hits for double damage and ignores monster traits. All right. Explosion. I only hit him once. I only hit him once. And it says that I can play a weapon anytime, or play an item anytime I want to, unless it says otherwise. So I get to see my first weapon before I double it. So let's see what happens. That's a 3. So if I double it, no, this is a special rule from the rules that says if a single card means your first card only exceeds that value, it's not a problem. So I'm going to use it. Because, whoops, that's face up. This card, that's my 7th monster, and I take no damage for having done that. Whoops. So, I only need to defeat 1 more. But I've only got 3 cards left to do it. Nope. Ain't gonna happen unless this is a 5 or a 6. 5 and a 6. That's an 11. Okay. Watch this. Guess what? I killed the final monster with my final card on camera. No cheating, I promise you. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yay, I'm glad we played again. That is a win, and that is how you play Cursed. That's it. That's all of the components you've seen on the screen aside from the rules. And I will show you the rules are simply just a set of cards. Same cards as those. All double-sided. Very, very simple, very well-written rules, very easy to understand. Otherwise, that's all the components. I do want to show you some more of the stuff up close, just so you can see, because I do really love this artwork. Super, super old school Western RPG kind of artwork, something you might see in something like Wizardry. Really, really cool characters. This frog sort of monk is a very unique character. Really, really great artwork. So many different items. I'm not going to go through all of them because there are so many of them. And I'm pretty sure every single one. Here we go. Blocking damage, double damage, plus 3 damage to a single weapon. There's that Mimic you saw. Soul Crystal, take no damage if you attack over a monster's power. Many, 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 many different items. And to show them off now would sort of be ruining it a little bit because some of what comes out in this game is this sort of adventure discovery kind of feel that comes out of this small deck of cards. Otherwise, all of the deck of cards comes in this mint tin. Just a small little tin. Everything fits in there super nicely. Maybe even a little bit of extra room in there. You're not going to sleeve it, obviously, because it's a curved tin, but great little package. Love this cover art, which is also the back of the cards. Yeah. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed those playthroughs. Boy, am I glad I decided to do that second play because wow, that turned out perfectly. And I was so happy to be able to show that to you on camera. So this is a game that I'd actually never heard of at all until a member of the Button Shy Discord server, Sinopiasaur, mentioned this as their sort of favorite solo push your luck game, and I said, okay, my interest has been grabbed. Let's see what this is all about. I reached out to the designer, and sure enough, they were happy to send me a copy of this, as well as the follow-up game, which will hopefully come to this channel as well in the future. But I sat down and I played this thinking, all right, how good could this game really be? It's a tiny little deck of cards and a tiny little mint tin. Not a whole lot of meat to this game, but let me say I enjoy this game a lot, and I'm very, very glad that I did reach out and add this to my collection. The review for this is going to be pretty quick because basically everything you saw in the playthrough is the game. There's not a whole lot that I can say that you haven't seen, but this game is at its core a push your luck game. And what I mean by that is you're kind of just turning over cards, hoping that things go your way, and then turning over more cards, taking a risk that things might not go your way. And what I mean by that is, in this game, first off, you start off with an item, and we'll talk about the items a little bit later. But every card is an item, a monster, and then a weapon. And you do start off with one item, but the rest of the cards are shuffled into a deck, and you're going to turn over the top card, and that is a monster. And every monster has a value that you're trying to hit. You have to hit that number or less. If you go over that number, nothing's going to happen because whatever weapon it is that caused you to go over that number will be discarded. But I'm getting ahead of myself because I haven't talked about how that happens. Once the monster's been laid out, you're going to slowly turn over cards one by one. And I say one by one because you're pausing and making the choice to turn over every card after you've turned over the previous card. You turn over a card, you see the value, you compare that value plus any other cards you've already turned over with the value of the monster. And if you've hit that value perfectly, then great for you, that monster's been defeated or the soul has been captured. But if it's less than, means the total of those weapon cards or weapons on the cards is lower than the value of the monster, you have a decision to make. You can cut your losses and end right there, capturing the soul of the monster, but then taking damage, meaning discarding a number of cards equal to the difference between the monster's value and the total value of the weapons that you've got. Or you can continue to turn over cards. And turning over more cards might get your value closer and closer to that monster's value. But again, if you turn over a card that pushes your value above the monster's value, well, sorry, that weapon gets thrown away. It can't be used because you've gone too far. So it's sort of like blackjack where you're sort of hitting, trying to get close as possible to a specific number without going over. And just that on its own is a really interesting push your luck mechanism. But then there's a couple of extra twists thrown in. The first of which is that many of these monsters have special things that say the first of a specific weapon type that's used doesn't count. The first of a weapon type of a specific value doesn't count. And also one more nice twist to the sort of value adding thing is that the number 6 card is also the number 1 card, sort of like the 1 and 11 on an ace in a normal deck of cards. The 1 and 6 is the same card, but when you play it, you have to choose if it's a 1 or a 6. But what that means is, if you're scared about drawing a big card, that big card might become a small card, and then it's not such a big deal. So thinking about these extra restrictions of the enemies and thinking about this 1/6 card adds in a couple extra little wrinkles to that push your luck decision that you are playing on every turn. Because ultimately you have to think about, you've got a single deck of cards that you're playing through once and that's it. And then that's the game, and if you've beaten 8 monsters, then yay. And if you haven't, then sorry, game over, try again. And every time you draw a card that goes over that value and gets discarded, that's a wasted card. Every time you cut your losses when you haven't reached the monster's value, that's a series of lost cards equal to that difference. So you're trying your best to push as close as possible without going over every single time, and it really does mean something because the number of cards you have is very small. But good news is you've got items, and every single card in this game, at least that I've seen, I haven't looked at every single card in detail, but every single card has a different item that does something different, that breaks the rules of the game, that gives you special abilities, and so on. And you start with one of those at the beginning, and generally you get to choose when to use that item. Some of them are triggered from specific things, but generally you get to use that item to do whatever it says once, and then that goes into the discard pile, which gives you the ability to do special things. One of them is going to kill a monster instantly without anything. One of them might double the value of the first card you played. One of them might allow you to sort of reclaim all of the cards you've played against a certain monster, shuffle them up and try again. So hopefully you can get a bigger value before you get a lower value, saving some of those cards, etc. All of these items have special, unique things, and they all do completely different things, and I haven't seen them all yet, and that's great. But then also, I should point out that some of the monsters that you beat will have a treasure chest behind them. And if there's a treasure chest, when you defeat that enemy, you're going to draw a random item from the discard pile. So that means you're reclaiming cards that will then give abilities to help you further your journeys through future cards without spending as many cards to do so. So this idea of this push your luck with mitigation from the item cards, well, sort of hoping that the deck does what it needs to do, is a whole lot of fun. And the variety of the item cards and the different things they allow you to do means that this game continues to feel fresh. But again, the game plays out in 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes if you stretch it, which means it's super quick to play. So even if you play a bunch of cards down and you get like 4 monsters and that's game over, well, that was a bad play. But shuffle and start all over again. And it really, really, really takes that spot of, I'm going to sit down and play a round of solitaire while I wait for something. This is way more fun than playing solitaire. Same size of deck, maybe even smaller. That's it. You pull it out, you play through, and it's a fun little experience. This is the kind of thing you want to keep in your pocket, keep in your bag for whenever you're sort of sitting around with nothing to do. You pull it out and play through a hand or two. It is a ton of fun. Again, there's not a whole lot to it. I can't say a ton about the strategy or the tactics or what have you, but it does make you think. And this sort of feeling you get when you push your luck and pull something big off feels really good. Or the feeling you get when you think you're doing really well and then you pull the wrong card and everything falls apart. Feels bad, but it feels bad in a fun way. It is a very sort of emotional roller coaster-y kind of thing in a 5 to 10 minute compacted space. And I am very, very glad that I tried this game out. Again, it is available as a physical copy, as you see here on GameCrafter, but it's also available very cheap as a print and play game. Just a bunch of cards. Pretty easy print and play game to make. So if you are the kind of person who doesn't mind crafting a couple of cards, even easier to get your hands on this game. I strongly recommend that if you're looking for a very small, quick play card game, solo-only card game that you can just sort of carry in your pocket and pull out to kill some time while you're waiting for something and have a whole lot of fun doing it, definitely check this one out. Lots of fun. Again, super tiny card game, not a whole lot I can say. Not going to be the best game you've ever played, but for what it is, it's a whole lot of fun, and I'm very, very glad to have it. It will absolutely stay in my collection. It will absolutely get played, and I strongly recommend checking it out if it sounds like something you'd be interested in. That's basically all I can say. I hope that this video was helpful, and as always, I do ask that if you did enjoy the video, please remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks.